I was with Bobby Oken, had a little gallery, and she saw the work and she liked it, and so she invited me to show some pieces of her work and had at her gallery, and had some work out there. And Jack Cowart had seen my work there, and so he told her he wanted to give me a show. They were starting this new series called Currents that would feature up and coming or relatively new people on the scene, and I was the first one that he chose.
Did that have any impact?
Great deal. It really kind of kick-started me, I guess you might say. That I got tons and tons of reviews, and never a bad review, and so I became fairly well known in St. Louis. Actually, I had a lot of exhibits. You know, I was invited to exhibit. From that, I was invited to exhibit a little everywhere, and then Bobby Oken joined with Sissy Thomas, and they opened a gallery, called Oken Thomas Gallery. Because I went with them, and had several shows there, and they sold the heck out of my work. You know, people would come in and request my work, and so it kind of took off from there. Yeah, so I'd say the museum show really did wonders for me. This is an example of a really very early work, and it actually has to be pastel. And the way I created my work, first I made a list of things that were very important to me. It was I like randomness, I like color, I like texture, I just wrote out all the things that are important to me in working. And from that I wanted to work with a format similar to a quilt. And I did a few cloth pieces which I was not happy with. So I started working on paper because I really like paper and the surface. And so I started putting different combinations of shapes and things together, and I came across this format. And how this little format is created, is I worked on sheets of paper, and I cut a square out. Sometimes I stamp things and mess around with a piece of cardboard, but I always made a little piece of cardboard, and I would work on sheets of paper, and I would cut, for example, like a square here, cut a square out of the paper, and I would fold that in half, so I get two long rectangles actually. Then I would cut those rectangles in half and put them together, and this is actually what I get and then I put them together in rows, and they're all hand sewn. The stitching very often showed through. In fact, after I did this, when I started doing them with different colored thread, because the thread sometimes would pop out, or you could see the thread, and I wanted that to be a part of the work, and I want the rhythm of the thread to be kind of a part of the texture and part of the work. So when you see the thread, that's not an accident. The thread doesn't bother me. It really is a part of the work, I think. So I used this format, and then of course I changed size sometimes. Stayed with always this format because if hooked all together, you have these horizontal lines that stay together, and then you have the vertical lines. Okay, so I never had to decide how I was going to approach the canvas. The format was always there for me, so that was not a question. That alleviated a lot of agony for me in terms of what I was going to do on a blank canvas, because the format was always the same, and except I just changed materials. I worked with a lot of different mediums. I worked with I've really explored the whole process of working, and sometimes I would stamp, sometimes I would color, do different things to the paper. But it was so I really call myself my work process work.